For the Stoics, life is a series of actions. The Stoic composes his life by accomplishing his actions one by one. Instead of becoming overwhelmed by the sheer volume of tasks or the potential problems that lie ahead, he narrows his attention to the present moment. Think about it. Would you worry about the possibility of not landing a job with the degree you're pursuing before you even get into college? Unlikely. But Stoicism takes this a step further. Would you then consider the situation as an obstacle to your acting if you do not secure your dream job after completing your degree, with a diminishing probability of landing a skills-based job in the future? The Stoic wouldn't. He wouldn't because he sees life as a series of actions, and the actions as opportunities to either act or accept. He acts with virtue, and he accepts with virtue. He acts in the moment as he accepts the passing moment. He knows life is about acting, accepting, and moving on. But he doesn't do it without clarity. And clarity comes from knowing, from being willing. Clarity comes from wisdom. It comes from the following. The obstacle is the way. Focusing on the present brings a sense of order and harmony to life. When we're not weighed down by the totality of our problems, we can start to tackle them one by one, as if organizing them in a neat line, each to be dealt with in turn. When we do that, suddenly life feels less chaotic and more like a well-structured dance. Stoic philosophy teaches us to see life as a dance, each step flowing naturally into the next, with balance and precision. We pass from one problem to the next without being overwhelmed by the enormity of it all. We create a rhythm in our actions where each movement, each task is part of a larger, harmonious whole. Marcus Aurelius says, "Do not let the future disturb you. You will meet it, if you have to, with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." By focusing on the task at hand, you prepare yourself for whatever comes next. But what goes into this focus on the present moment? How did Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus, more importantly, how do Stoics and the wise people focus on the present task without giving mind to the past and the future? How do they think clearly, keep calm, get on with the action, and overcome adversity? The answer to all those questions is simple: by being good all the time, by following reason, by practicing virtue, one after the other, in one moment and the next. And how do they do that? How do they stay good in every moment? How do they do everything with good intentions? By recognizing the freedom we possess to act virtuously at every moment. Because of this freedom, no external force can stop us from choosing to act with virtue. No one can take away our ability to act justly, wisely, or prudently. These Stoic virtues are entirely within our control, rooted in our own decisions. When we choose to do what is right, we are already practicing virtue, regardless of the outcome. You might be working on a project at work, aiming for fairness and excellence. Even if things don't turn out the way you planned, the simple fact that you approach the task with integrity means you've already succeeded in a moral sense. And why is that important? The greatest good, the Stoics argue, is the feeling of inner joy that arises when our mind and spirit are in perfect harmony with our actions, when we are living in accordance with nature and reason, and when we accept what life brings with grace. This contentment comes not from external success, but from aligning ourselves with what is right, what is morally good, both in our decisions and in our acceptance of what is beyond our control. To gain Stoic wisdom is to also contemplate the vastness of the universe, through which one finds that human affairs, those everyday struggles and triumphs we obsess over, seem incredibly small and insignificant compared to the universe's turn. The Stoics often remind us that the cosmos is vast and timeless, and in the grand scheme of things, our daily concerns are like the playthings of children. We chase power, wealth, recognition, but are these really worthy pursuits? When compared to the boundless nature of the universe, these concerns shrink into nothingness. Worse still, human affairs are frequently steeped in selfish desires, driven by passions, envy, and deceit. In this light, they appear not only trivial, but also ugly, monotonous in their constant repetition of greed, conflict, and moral compromise. And so, what remains in life that is truly great? What stands above this mire of human pettiness? The Stoics would say it is the purity of moral intent, the one thing that elevates us above the baseness of everyday existence. The only real greatness in this life, the only true joy, comes from living with a clear, unblemished sense of purpose. A life animated by the sincere desire to do good, to act justly, to speak the truth, to exercise temperance and bravery, achieves its goal in every moment. You don't need to wait for validation from the future or for others to approve your actions. As long as your intent is pure, your action is complete. And as long as the action is complete, the goal doesn't matter. In this sense, moral action can be compared to a dance. When we dance, we don't think about the end result, the final pose. We're focused on each movement, flowing from one step to the next. The beauty of dance lies in the moment, in the rhythm, not in its conclusion. And yet, if the music stops unexpectedly, the dance feels unfinished, as though it has been interrupted before its completion. Consider what happens when our morally good actions are blocked. Let's say you plan to volunteer for a cause, but circumstances, perhaps an illness or sudden work commitments, prevent you from following through. According to Stoicism, this doesn't mean you've failed. Every moment of moral action is perfect and complete in itself. Even if your actions are interrupted, or if circumstances prevent you from achieving the external result you hoped for, the action remains whole. The true value of the action lies in the intention behind it, not in the outcome. As soon as you act with this Stoic mindset, with the pure desire to do what is right, you've already succeeded. The virtue is in the doing, not in what follows. You've danced the dance of life perfectly, even if the music stops before you expect it. On the contrary, this presents a new opportunity, an opportunity to practice another virtue, the virtue of accepting what is beyond your control. In other words, accepting destiny and changing our course. And here's where the Stoic idea of consent to destiny comes into play. If the result of the action we hope to perform cannot be realized, reason steps in and reminds us that there is still something you can do. We can practice the virtue of acceptance. Doesn't matter if our actions have a moral bearing or are morally neutral, such as winning a race or passing an exam. Instead of resisting the reality of the situation or becoming bitter about the obstacle, we accept it. This is not resignation or passivity. It's a proactive recognition that some things are simply beyond our control. When you accept what you cannot change and focus on what you can control, when you make peace with destiny and however it has willed it to play out, you align with the flow of life and save yourself from exhausting yourself in futile resistance. This acceptance is crucial for your intention to exercise virtue every time you take action, and never stop doing that, even in the face of failure. But acceptance doesn't mean inaction. This Stoic approach is governed by reason, and so after consenting to the obstacle, the Stoic looks for the next best course of action. This might mean shifting to a new task, a new goal, that is more in line with the reality of the situation. So, what matters is that we remain active and engaged, always adjusting and recalibrating our actions based on new information, without getting stuck in frustration or disappointment. We simply take the next step that seems most reasonable and possible. This dynamic process, adjusting, accepting, and acting, is what gives order and harmony to our lives. Just as a dance flows from one movement to the next, so too does life flow from one action to the next, gracefully adapting to obstacles as they arise. When we accept our fate with grace, cultivate amor fati, or a love of fate, we experience a kind of inner peace that transcends worldly concerns. We find joy not in what we accomplish, but in how we live. This joy, rooted in moral clarity, is unshakable, unaffected by the ups and downs of fortune, by the twists of fate, or by the fickle opinions of others. In a world obsessed with outcomes, the Stoic finds freedom in focusing on the process, the continual exercise of virtue in every moment. This is why no obstacle, no failure, no external setback can rob the Stoic of peace. The good, they argue, is always within reach because it is not dependent on anything outside of our control. It lies in the purity of our intentions, in the choices we make, in our willingness to accept destiny as it unfolds. Marcus says, "My thought can turn upside down everything that presents an obstacle to my action and transform the obstacle into an object toward which my impulse to act ought preferably to tend." Thus, our thoughts, when they are morally good, possess the power to turn every obstacle into the very objects of our focus, not with a renewed intention, but with the same intention of exercising virtue in the next action and accepting destiny when it wills our action to fail. This is the true meaning of "the obstacle is the way." If you like what we do, feel free to do more and like and share the video. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, to the community.